Thank you for joining us. Slide on over, Mr. Snipes, for Living and Leading with Miss J. We're in transition land, going live to YouTube on the new YouTube channel, Living and Leading with Miss J. So as you can see right here, subscribe to the channel for more good things. Today we are continuing on the Facebook platform. I am Miss J, and I hope that you will go on over to YouTube and subscribe so that you can get all the future videos. So as you can see, our guest today is Mr. Snipes, and our topic is uncovering secrets to a happy marriage. It is June. We are continuing to celebrate our anniversary and love month and all of those things. So we are just excited to be here with you and hope that everything is going well with you today. So we are just making sure that everything is set up properly. Hopefully you've had a fantastic week. And if you are tuning in about the marriage things, fantastic. But I talk about a lot of other things. So yes. If this is your first time joining, I am Miss J. I am a coach, a human resource professional, entrepreneur, nonprofit founder, and I do a whole lot of things, but I believe in the holistic development of people so that you can live your best life and achieve your next level with ease and grace. And my husband, Mr. Snipes, is also a developer, a servant leader, a counselor, and a director of an institution. And so we are coming together because he does a lot of counseling for marriage, couples, and families. And I do typically individual coaching on development topics, but this is something that we just like to talk about. And of course, love and marriage is something that is very personal to us, as we have celebrated our 13th year anniversary in June 2021. And so we are excited about this. If you caught us the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about things. We talked about us, and then we talked about unpacking baggage. Yes. So if you didn't watch that episode, definitely go back and watch it. And today we're going to talk about uncovering secrets to a happy marriage. So of course, marriage, like parenting, yes, doesn't come with a handbook. And so everyone does it their own particular way. And so we look to see what the experts, the professionals, say about a happy marriage, and we're going to have some conversations about those from our own lived experience and what we see, what he's seen in other relationships that have allowed him to, assist them through some of those valleys. And we're going to just go ahead and dive right in. Did I miss anything?
No, you didn't. You didn't.
Okay, fantastic. So, Mr. Snipes.
Yes.
The article that we chose is a article from our good sis, Miss Oprah Winfrey's Oprah Daily email or mailing that comes out. And it is titled, The Secret to Having a Happy Marriage. It was published in June 2019. I will put the link below in the YouTube and Facebook channel so that you can go see it. But there's basically a couple of tips about how you can do this. Yep. And so I'm not going to necessarily proclaim it to be the formula, but at least it'll give you some insight and some place to start. And we're going to talk about this. Some of these things you might have heard in our prior lives.
Yes.
So maybe we're on to something.
Maybe.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let you start. I'm going to grab my drink.
Okay. And so it gave us about 10 little nuggets that, they believe really help with a happy marriage. So I'm not sure if we're going to go through all 10, but we are going to highlight some that we think are very important in regards to a happy marriage. So the first one is, every happy couple argue. Ooh. And I say that not to be, whatever the word is right now in terms of that's a negative thing. I think it's a realistic thing. I think sometimes we idealize what marriage is. We forget that we were individual people before we got married.
Yep.
And then we are trying to figure out how to live together. Mm-hmm. and that sometimes we may have disagreements. And so when you assume that, hey, this is the honeymoon phase or the limerence and everything's happy and we never argue, that's not realistic. Because there will be times that you have disagreements. There's going to be times that you view things differently. Last week, Janelle was saying that men are from Earth and women are from Mars.
No, that's not what I said.
Again, listening. But just that aspect of, it is okay to engage in a conversation. You're going to argue. It comes down to the question of how do you argue? How do you be respectful? How do you not, quote unquote, go for the kill shot? How do you not see your spouse as your enemy when they say something that hurts your feelings? So I agree. I think a happy couple understands that they're going to argue and they're going to disagree, but it's how they do it. I think that's the most important thing.
And I think it's also the vantage point. I definitely agree with that. You have to learn how to argue.
Yes.
On a personal note, we don't necessarily argue. I think when I hear the word argue, I feel like that dictates or connotates loud voices and anger and rage and all of those things. And we don't engage in that way.
Nope.
We have chosen not to engage that way and have never done that in our marriage. When we have disagreements, it's about as calm as us. We're probably even talking in softer voices because right now we're projecting for you, but it's a conversation. I can have my opinion that differs from his opinion, or I can have my feelings about something that happened that might be different from his, and we can talk through it. So, but I think that how you choose to engage is the key to that, because we are going to have moments of disagreement. We are going to have moments where we just, can't come to a consensus about anything. But that doesn't necessarily mean automatically that it has to lead to this aggressive, loud, disruptive behavior that you have to recover from. Right. I feel like when you have explosions like that, you have to figure out also how to recover and to bounce back. And if you can't do that, if you're engaging in a aggressive and a disruptive manner and you don't know how to bounce back from those things, then there's a separate issue. But you can choose not to have those disruptive, loud, aggressive conversations or arguments and engage in a different manner.
And, I think about people who may say, I need to be in a toxic relationship, or that person's just fiery, or there's just something about that passion. They're passionate. And we're not saying, don't be passionate. The question comes down to when you argue with someone, it's because, it's a disagreement. You're trying to express your views and you want them to receive your views, and vice versa. The question really comes down to how do you do that? If you're yelling and throwing things around or trying to hurt them, are they really hearing what it is that you want them to hear? Are they hearing the content? They see the feeling, they see the hurt, they see the impact, but are they hearing the thing to help you both move forward? So that's why we're saying, yes, every couple argue, but you choose how you argue.
Right.
We choose, and we don't want to come and project like, oh, we're the best couple. No, we are learning it daily. Just like anybody else. That's why we feel blessed that God allows us to come before you on Saturdays to say it is a work. But when you argue, you have to choose. There's been times when, like, man, she hit me in a certain way. I was just like, oh, or, vice versa. But it's that choice we make.
Right.
It's that choice to say, you know what, I'm not going to go there. And not that I can't go there, but I don't want to hurt the person. We just disagree right now.
Right. Exactly.
But we can work together to get beyond it. So.
I'll just take a clip from the article really quickly. The expert in this case is Dr. Juliana Morris, who is a family and couples therapist. She said, even the happiest couples have worked and weathered the hard times, which is where a lot of the argument, the disruption, difference of agreements happen. But this is the part that I really loved. It says, even if you argue or are going through a rough patch, this doesn't necessarily mean you are in an unhappy marriage.
Yep.
You can still be happily married and have arguments or disagreements. It probably means you are normal. And so I don't want you to think that, oh, we're having a disagreement, we're having an argument, we're in a rough patch right now. That must mean I'm not happily married. No, it's the totality
Yes.
of your relationship that dictates the happiness or not the moment that you're living in, because we're all going to have those up and down moments.
Boom. All right, the next one. Do we want to do that one?
Pick one. What's your favorite?
Choose to be attracted to your spouse. Yes. Yes. And there's the attraction piece, but there's the choice piece.
Yes.
That's the thing that is so important. Just like I choose to figure out how I'm gonna talk to my spouse, I'm choosing to be attracted to my spouse. I'm choosing to engage. I'm choosing to connect. And here's the thing: life changes. The thing that brought you two together, may not be the thing that after so many years of marriage or kids or new jobs or new environments, those things change. But what are you doing to keep those fires raging? And not just kind of smoldering, simmering, but raging. How do you choose to be engaged? How do you choose to connect? Because I would tell you one of my fears is, I often say, oh, I love my best friend. It's my best friend. I don't want to be married to my best friend.
You do, but you don't.
I mean, I do, but I don't. But it's like, I don't want to be friend zoned. And
Right.
sometimes you can have marriages where people are friend zoned. There is no, it's a business transaction. It is I'm here, you there, we have a routine, but the thing that brought us together, unless the business is the thing that brought you together, but the passion and the drive and the desire that brought us together isn't there anymore. That's what I'm saying. Choose to be attracted. Choose to be like, girl, you look good. Come here, let me do something. It's okay. We're married. We're gonna make some sounds here. Let me do it. That's what I'm gonna do.
Okay, we're gonna move over a little bit.
No, you ain't moving over. You gotta move the other hill. Okay.
One of the things that the article says is that attraction isn't necessarily all in the physical.
Correct.
I do think that, of course, the physical attraction typically is what initially draws us to our partner.
Mm-hmm.
We see something that we like, we want to get to know more about them. But hopefully over the course of your marriage, you also find the other things that are attractive, the other things that you learn to love. I love the fact that he has a spiritual connection. I love the fact that he can be emotional. He shows some emotion and not just completely shut down or detached. I love his legs, not just his face. Those are other things that you can do. I love the fact that he's a great father, whatever the case may be. It is about the choices that you make,
Mm-hmm.
and how you choose to perceive. You can influence those things, and it's not just about, the physicality. I'm not attracted to him anymore. Well, what is there that you do like about him or her? What are the things that keeps that connection? Because as long as you have a connection with your spouse,
Yes.
then there's going to be some level of attraction. I love his sense of humor. I love his sense of adventure. I love the XYZ. If the physical can dwindle, right? As we grow older, we're not going to look how we did when we were 20 something. If God forbid something happens and then the physical is altered, whether it be the physical capacity, whatever, the physical appearance may be altered, that person, the other qualities that you've become attracted to should remain the same. If you are finding the person who's showing you their authentic self,
Yep.
and their most true self,
Yep.
then those things, their truest character, will never fade away. So find character combined with the physical attraction. Maybe you're onto something, but at least if the physical fades, the character and the authenticity stands, and those are the things that you can stay attached to.
Yep. Sometimes when they have a good personality, that is a good thing. Versus how do they look? They got a good personality. Oh, that's code for something. So, okay.
I was going to say this from the expert,
Mm-hmm.
who is Sunny McMillan, a certified life coach, radio host, and the author of a book called Unhitched. She says you can practice attraction thoughts, which I'd never heard of that before. Thoughts of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
And it says to do this, focus on the attributes you are drawn to most, which is kind of what we were just talking about. It doesn't have to be physical, but the things that you're drawn to. So focus there. Okay, where you put your focus is where you also begin to act. If you focus on the negative things, then you respond to the negativity typically before you even, the defense walls just automatically go up.
Yep.
But if you focus on the positive, if you focus on the things that you're most drawn to, then those things continue to keep you connected to your partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What's the next one? Focus on each other's strengths. I think I would agree. The only thing I would add before that is making sure you know your partner in order to be able to focus in on their strengths. Because that takes time, that takes building a relationship. So yeah, that's the place where I will alter it. Because reading the article, the premise here was like sometimes you got to give grace in the sense if something is not somebody's strong suit, then don't get upset. And so if you're a numbers person and you're married to someone who's not a numbers person, don't get upset if they mismanage the budget. Don't get upset if they don't do something that you're so comfortable in doing. And it's like, I get that piece, but in order to do that, you need to really know who your spouse is to know if they're not good with money, to know if they are good with artistic stuff or creativity or being social, and that's part of it. There are times that Janelle is way more social than I am. I play the low-key kind of chill role, and I don't mind doing that. And so, but I can also, bring forward and be the life of the party and be an extrovert. But part of that is based on both of us knowing what we need to do and being able to read that piece. So I agree. Focus on the strengths to kind of accomplish goals that are kind of in your wheelhouse. But I would say make sure you know who that partner is before that.
Yes. I was also kind of on the fence with this. I wasn't in 100% agreement because it said, this is what the part of the article that I was like, it says, if their strength is cooking,
yep,
they can manage meal planning instead. Use your strengths on a daily basis. Using your strength on a daily basis is associated with greater well-being. And this is the expert is Susan Pawelski, co-author of a book, Happy Together. I think that any strength overused becomes a weakness. Like you can't, if my strength is one thing and I do it every day, or you can get burnt out on it. Maybe that's more what I'm going for. The burnout factor. So yes, I'm a good cook, or I like to cook, and that's my strength. But that doesn't mean that for the next 50 years, I want to cook every day, right? That doesn't mean that you just get 100% off the hook because that's my strength. And then you get your strength is whatever the case may be. I don't know. You could pick
playing video games.
And you get to do that every single day. And that's what I rely on you for. I think that if you plan on having a long, happy marriage, then you have to be able to find some balance. And you can't just rely on that person because sometimes it's hard. There's a concept that's called like primary parent.
Okay.
And which, of course, if you're living in a 2-parent household, there's the mom or the dad that is the primary parent for the kids, and they are the planners, the caretakers, the make sure everything is doneers. And that's the person that typically the kids are always like, mom, 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 or dad, dad, dad. If you are a primary parent and your spouse goes scot-free, imagine how hard that can be to be like, we're both sitting on the couch. And sometimes we have this, we're both sitting on the couch, but you automatically go to me. Or I have to do all of these things and my partner does absolutely zero. I have to go to soccer games, soccer practice, football games, football practice, blah, 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 whatever the case may be.
Right.
There has to be a balance there.
Yes.
And so I wasn't necessarily, I like the part where, of the article that said, focus on the strengths when it comes to like, not just on the weakness. Oh, he's not a good XYZ. And let that be the defining thing, but to focus on the strengths and the positive that brings to your relationship. But I did not agree with the part that says, well, if this is your strength, then let them do that all the time. Yeah. If I'm talking about always and forever, I don't want to be doing that always and forever. Right. I have a partner to share that with, between, and I don't want to have to always be the one, because I don't think that gives us the ability to grow or learn. We just stay in a box. Well, this is what I'm good at, so this is what I'm going to do for the next 60 years. I don't like that.
Right. Well, and I was going to say, and kind of connected with another thing here about be still, do things together, and have fun. You know, I agree, if you only do that particular strength, then you have an issue in the sense of like you kind of get pigeonholed into one particular thing. Oh, you don't have the ability to grow, you don't have the ability to evolve, you don't have the ability to see different things, acknowledging that life in and of itself is changing. Who I am when we're dating versus who I am when we're engaged and married and have kids, or whatever order that is, when you just say this is your strength, do that, then it's like it's being pigeonholed. It's like you're not growing. You know, be able to learn. So if she's a great cook, what she is, and I'm not such a good cook, then one of those things we can do together is for her to teach me how to cook. So then that way, it's not always her cooking, and I can try to challenge myself to go beyond my strong suit. If I'm good at paying the bills and she's not, then yeah, have her help me in a sense of saying, this is how I do our budget, so that way she understands, and then she can start doing that as well. Now, granted, cooking and budgets are two different things, but it's giving the example of, you know, if I'm the quote unquote parent that the boys go to because they want to play and wrestle, and she's the one they go to because it's, you know, one particular thing, we do things together so that way the boys know, or the kids know, to come to both of us. Right. So that's what I'm saying. I think in both of those, acknowledge that strength, but also do things together to kind of help build and grow, you know?
Yes.
I see that almost, you know, makes me want to jump on another thing real quick. So I'll say that one too, and then we can come back. Don't expect your partner to complete you.
Yes, I wanted to go there. So I'm glad you went there. You don't have to come back unless you need to. But
No. I'm just saying, but it's that's something that I think is very important, because sometimes we look at our deficits and we are reacting to our deficits. Mm-hmm. I lack such and such. That person has it. So together we make one whole body. No, together you make two whole bodies. So you should come in with your full self and don't expect that other person to complete those parts of you. Because what if they don't want to complete it? Have you thought about that? And so I think going into a relationship, understanding that I am Walter, or Mr. Snipes in this case, I'm trying to figure out how to live life. This is Miss J. She's trying to figure out how to live life. Yeah, we have things in our lives that we're both exceptionally good at. We have some things in our life that are our deficits or our blind spots or Johari window we're not aware of. But she doesn't expect me to complete that part for her, nor do I expect her to complete that part for me. But together, we can work to resolve whatever issue that may be. Because truth be told, there's some things that we both have, you know, blind spots to that we're not aware of, that doesn't complete us within each other, if that makes sense. So I think I agree. A happy marriage, a marriage that's thriving, is one where the spouses are not trying to use the other to complete one another.
Right. This also is, for me, it's like, there are some things that you will compliment.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily think that there's a way for you to complete. And if I'm going to find a partner who compliments me, yes, then I understand the concept that, like you said, he's a whole person, I'm a whole person, but you make me better. Mm-hmm. And I love the fact that I can rely on you to help me grow and expand in some of the things that I might be falling short on. Yep. But it doesn't mean that I get to just stay underdeveloped. So if I am emotionally immature at the beginning of our relationship, and I don't know how to engage in difficult conversations, etc., I don't get to, over the course of my marriage, just stay there.
Correct.
I need you to help me learn how to engage, or we might need an external partner. Yep. But as a partner, you understand where I am and where I need to be, and you help me to grow and to develop, not just stay limited to where I am. Right. It's not the fact that you just plug in. Oh, well, I never have to focus on growing and being better in that arena because, Walter's good at that.
Right.
It's no, I need to level up.
Mm-hmm. Level up.
And he needs to level up in some areas, and we together will be better.
Yes.
As the years progress, not only for ourselves, but for each other. And that's the part where it's like that expectation of completion. I don't necessarily think is a realistic,
right,
albeit romantic gesture. I don't think it's a realistic expectation for your partner to complete you.
And one thing to kind of go back, when we say third party, we don't mean an outside partner. We don't mean external, go get another boo thing. We're talking about in a sense of counseling and someone to help you process, to help you understand.
We're trying to stay married. We ain't trying to have no open marriage.
Right. I mean, unless that's your thing. Yeah.
We're talking about traditional marriages. Let's put that caveat here.
Yeah, two individuals coming together. That's what we're talking about. I mean, unless that's your thing, then that's your thing. Then you probably ain't listening to us anyway because you disagree. I mean, you don't agree with us. And so, But yeah, I just think, it acknowledges where people feel like their deficits are, where they feel they're lacking. And sometimes when people are serious about settling down, that's the thing they're trying to say. Oh, this person has. I remember dating someone years ago who told me that somebody asked them why they were dating me. And they said, because he's so spiritual and I think he's going to bring me to God. And it's like, why do you need him to bring you to God? Why don't you just go to God yourself? She dumped me later.
Maybe she found her way to God.
She did. She didn't need me anymore.
All by herself.
All by herself. She dumped me there. It's all good. Much love. But you dumped me. Look where I am now. Ching.
Level up.
Level up. But all jokes aside, that part that was true is that sometimes we go in thinking, I'm missing something that I see in that person. So I'm attracted to that person, but more so because I feel like I need to get this particular thing, I'm going to go to that person to satisfy that. So it's not that compliment, it is that complete. And what we're saying is like, no, you gotta own that, but let it go because it's not realistic and it's also not going to get you what you want.
Right. The other thing that this article mentions is about making sure that you're still nurturing yourself, doing the things that you are interested in, having your own set of friends, making sure that you don't think you're making sure that you're not expecting your partner to be your all in all. We, like earlier we said, we're individuals that have chosen to take our journeys together. That doesn't mean that I have to be his partner in everything. I love being Walter's partner in crime. I love being those things that we can do a multitude of things together. However, there are some days where it's just like, no, I'm not going to sit up there and play video games, which I would have earlier, but I don't have to be tied to him in every single thing. We each have our own area of interest, our things that we like to do, and we need to continue to nurture those so that we can stay complete and not just dive into this marriage and just become, this is all that I do. It's hard to do that it's hard to do that as a newlywed, so I think you kind of understand how to manage that more the longer your marriage lasts. But then when you add in other elements such as parenting, and then we know that you can lose yourself to parenting. You just become mom or dad 100% of the time, and your friends fall by the wayside, your personal time falls by the wayside, your hobbies fall by the wayside, and you have to remember in all of it to stay true to you. Again, you're only going to be the best version of yourself for your partner if you continue to nurture who you are. You're only going to be the best parent for your kids if you continue to nurture who you are. Don't lose yourself in those things and then have to find yourself when you're an empty nester or whatever the case may be. You want to stay in tune to that and be a whole person every day for the rest of your life, for the rest of your 60-year marriage, 80-year marriage, parenting, all that good stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I'm glad you said it because it's very important that you remember who you are. Because that, sometimes I say when you don't acknowledge particular things in your life, the emotional baggage, they have a way of manifesting at the worst time for you. So when you lose yourself and all of a sudden there's this urge to find yourself, it may be at a time when things are rocky. It may be at a time when it's like, this is not the most opportune and not to sound transactional moment for you to do it. But if you remember that, hey, before you got married and started living in the same house, you had those moments that you could just wake up late and just kind of have your own time.
Right.
Or if you needed to be around people, that you were around people. That you got to find that balance when you come together, because that need and that urge doesn't necessarily stop. You just now know these are the things that I liked. How do I still have my time so that way I can continue to pour in to our time? So that's the thing that's really important. That I agree with you. There's another thing here that says laugh with each other, and I think that's important in particular to laugh with, not at. Laugh with each other, not at.
Sometimes you can laugh at them, but it can't be the foundation of your marriage.
Well, but I think laugh at them in a sense of with the foundation of with. Because like if you're laughing at them in a sense of like if I do something or I say something funny and I'm laughing and you're laughing too, or laughing at me because I did something silly, yeah, that's laughing at me.
Right.
With the foundation laughing with me because I can also laugh. But ideally, if I'm hitting something like if I hit my toe and it looks funny, but I'm over there riling in pain or whatever the word is, you're not going to sit there and laugh at me if you know I'm down here darn near in tears. Regardless of how funny it is. Right. That's laughing at. Regardless of who you are, it doesn't matter who you are in this. I'm going to laugh at you, at your pain, at your suffering, at whatever. Laughing with is, I stumped my toe, I laugh, you laughing too, and it's like, it's a joke, but it's still that foundation of love. So that's what I'm saying. I think laughing with each other, both in the good times, in the rough times, because life is stressful. That was one thing the article was saying. Life is stressful. Because life is stressful, sometimes you got to take those moments of release and laughter and enjoyment. And I think doing that with your partner is spot on. Enjoy. There's times that, Janelle and I are looking at stuff and it's just like, that's a hot mess. And we look at each other and we start laughing.
Right.
And it's just like, wow, I can't believe, they did that. But hey, they do what they do. Or 10 times we laugh at our kids. They may not understand, but we laugh with each other at our kids because they just made up some stuff that's just like, ooh, do I got boo-boo the fool on my face? I guess we both got boo-boo the fool. And it's just like, it's funny. And so, yes, laugh with each other.
Yeah, when you're creating a bond through laughter, it means that you can experience things with a lighter perspective.
Yep.
And that everything doesn't have to be serious. Everything doesn't have to be stressful. Everything doesn't have to be tension. I've always said that I wanted to be my husband's safe space. I wanted to be the place where we can do it all. Cry, pontificate, work through some things, and laugh. Yeah. And if he can't laugh with me, then I don't want him to find somebody else to have a good time with. I want to be able to do that. Now, fortunately, we have very similar senses of humor. And so the small things we both can get and just, roll for hours. But laughter creates a bond. Laughter makes you feel like you're having a good time. And why wouldn't you want to be having a good time with your life partner, the person that you've chosen to be together? If you can't laugh with them, if they don't get your sense of humor, your jokes, you don't enjoy the same types of entertainment, then you're going to be finding connections externally and not necessarily with the person who you've chosen to navigate this path with. So it's like, inside jokes, the little silly text messages they send back to each other. Me and Walter have like some abbreviations. I can say a couple of letters and he'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Wherever we are, we can find a good time. And if I know that nobody else in the room gets what I'm getting, I know that he can, or I can clue him in very easily. And it's like, he becomes my safe space, he becomes my key partner, and we can have a great time together. I don't necessarily need to be like, oh, let me go call my best friend and tell her this joke, because he's not going to get it. He doesn't understand.
Right.
Sharing or having similar perspectives and being able to enjoy your time with your partner is the best. That's where you get happiness. And I don't necessarily think happiness equals laughter or happiness equals joy, because I think that for me, happiness can wane and wax. Joy is more overarching. But I think that if you can experience that with your partner on a frequent basis, again, you build that connection and you continue to say, through it all, we have the perspective where we can laugh in the good times, laugh in the bad times. Sometimes you just need somebody to cheer you up and make you laugh. And that can be a way to also strengthen your connection in your marriage.
Well, I think that leads to the next one. Celebrate small, good moments. That way of laughing, that way of just kind of Sometimes, so my other life in the past and sometimes present has been in student affairs and programming. And I used to
I was like, your other life?
Yeah.
What you talking about?
Not my other life. But no, talking with, student leaders who are doing programs or events for students to kind of build community and help them learn and grow. And I say often we try to make these huge, enormous events thinking that that's what's going to attract people. Like if it's an election year, it's like, oh, we're going to have this presidential debate and I'm going to get, this candidate and this candidate and this candidate all to come to my hall to debate. And it's just like, that's interesting. But the reality of it is that's not reality. And people don't really want to come to something so big. So why, what are the things that you want? Oh, I want something small. Right. So celebrate those small things. In your marriage, don't try to say, ooh, we need to go to Fiji to feel like that's an accomplishment. No, you can go down to Trader Joe's and get some whatever and just sit there and enjoy some cheese and crackers, some, charcuterie or whatever, but just enjoy those small, good moments because those are the things that build up over time. Those are the things that you kind of think back on. There are times that we are either driving or the windows down and I may smell a smell that reminds me of when we were at, the institution back in Georgia. And it was a smaller town, people were great, and there would be times that we would just walk around the neighborhood and there'd be a distinct smell that just made me feel like home and just made me feel like here we are, this young family, and we're trying to make it work. So even now, I may hit that smell, it just reminds me of those good times, separate from additional good times that we have. So we just got to celebrate it.
Another aspect that was brought up in this article is celebrating each other's accomplishments with one another. And so the longer you are with your partner, the more highs that you're going to experience. But taking the time out to be like, you know what? That was awesome. You did a great job. I'm glad that happened for you. Let's celebrate. Sharing joyful moments, acknowledging them, giving them some attention, because we want to make sure that again we're focusing on the things that are keeping us high and happy and together, and the small things matter. If no one else in the world is going to celebrate me because I got a compliment from my boss, then if I say, oh, guess what, such and such told me I did a great job, then yeah, I want you to celebrate with me as well.
We're going to Zaxby's tonight.
So it's making sure you're acknowledging, you're paying attention,
yes,
you're sharing those small moments, but you're also celebrating the highs that you and your partner will encounter. Again, it's about the life's journey. We're going to have the hard times. We're going to have the exciting and happy times, and we have to stick together through both of them. So be the person that I can celebrate with, be the person who's going to hold me when I need to cry. And then when we're having one of those days and we just need to reconnect, it doesn't necessarily have to be major and big. It can be small. Let's just celebrate the small and enjoy the small moments as well.
Yes. These next two I kind of put together because be kind to one another and then appreciate each other. And I think those are a little bit more akin, so to speak. And granted, you can be kind to somebody but not appreciate them, but can you really? So separate from that whole philosophical argument, and instead of going down that rabbit hole, I think it's true. Be kind to, theoretically, you want to be kind to that person. Spiritually, if you say you're now one, do you want to be kind to yourself? I would think you want to. So you want to be kind to that person. You want to build them up. You want to celebrate them and, compliment them and make them feel good. And you want to appreciate them. There's certain things that, as much as God has blessed me to do a lot of things, that it's like if Janelle said, hey, did we do this particular thing? It's like, oh man, I forgot that. Or, I didn't even think about that particular piece. So I appreciate when, she says we need to do this, or appreciate those moments, appreciate her being an exceptional mother, in particular 2 little boys who at times are all over the place. Really appreciating your partner in this, because again, you're not alone. You're there like helpmate. I think it goes kind of both ways in a sense. And for any biblical scholars to try to come after me saying, that ain't what the Bible said, I'm saying in the sense of us being in this together. I'm saying in the sense of us kind of appreciating each other in terms of what we bring to, in our case, the Snipes household.
Right. I think that when I think about appreciation, I think about not taking one another for granted.
Yep.
We've been married for 13 years. We've been together for longer than that. We plan on being married for way more, till death do us part. And so I don't want it to be 20 years from now, we're at our 33rd anniversary, that I'm like, oh yeah, well, kind of Walter takes care of that, or blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Always understand that each day we're choosing to be in this 100%.
Right.
I'm choosing you each morning. I'm choosing kindness each morning. I'm choosing love. I'm choosing attraction. And so not to take that for granted, but to make sure that you are, again, showing genuine appreciation for the thoughtfulness and for the things that they do for you. For 13 years, probably, I don't even know. Like every night before I go to bed, I want a cup of water to be by my bedside. Sometimes I'll go upstairs and I'll be in bed and I'm like, dang, I lost my water. But most of the time, the majority of the nights, Walter will bring me a cup of ice water, and when I forget, or sometimes he'll duplicate what I've already taken up because it's just a part of his routine. I appreciate that, because when I wake up in the morning, I drink that cup of water, and that's how I start my day. He knows that, he sees that, and I'm like, yeah, he thought about me. I frequently say thank you. I usually thank you for that.
Yep.
It's a part of the quote unquote routine, but not something that I take for granted, because when he's out of town or when he's not here, if I don't get my water, then I have to come downstairs and get my own, and I'm like, man, goodness, where's my babe? But so it's appreciating the small things, not taking it for granted, the big things or the small things, not taking for granted that he's a hardworking person, he's paying the mortgage, he's making sure our lights are on, all these things. That's how we divide our household. Right. Because those are the things that if my partner wasn't picking up the slack, then I would also have to do. When I think about kindness, I think about that in the terms of like respectfulness, showing some understanding, and being gentle. Not necessarily being overly assertive or aggressive all the time. And so kindness goes further than you can even think in a marriage, but it goes far in the world general. Choosing kindness just in general is a great characteristic to have, but when you can show that kindness to your partner and not always be degrading or holding them accountable. You never do these. You're not good at this. Calling out their faults instead of raising up their things that they do well is something that's going to help nurture the relationship. And I'm sure after 35 years, it's easy to say, negative things because you've seen those habits over the course of 35 years, or if I say 37 years. Right. But focusing on that's where that whole nagging wife, kind of, whatever you call it, the saying about, oh, my wife's a nagging wife. But if I'm telling you the same thing over and over again, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to learn. Right. Wives, we have to understand. We can say, pick up your socks 3,622 times, but if it's not changing, if the behavior is not changing, maybe we need to try another tactic. And maybe I can choose kindness. Maybe that one time that he picks up his socks, instead of saying, finally, you picked up your socks, I say, babe, thank you for picking up your socks. I really appreciate you doing that and putting them away properly.
Yes.
There's a way that you can rephrase that to make it feel like, oh, she noticed. And then maybe she'll notice tomorrow. And then maybe she'll notice I did it for 3 weeks. It's like that reinforcing the positive behavior.
Yep.
Is how you incorporate change into your life. Just how you teach your kids to go to the potty. When they finally start using the potty, you clap. Yay. Yeah, you give them snacks, you give them treats, you give them all these other things because you're like, yes, I'm trying to reinforce the learned behavior. Instead of nagging, pick up your socks. I tell you every day, pick up your socks. How about you try some positive reinforcement? Again, choosing kindness over choosing the more harsh path.
Yes. I think the last one, one is, I agree, accept and expect change.
Yes.
That is true because, again, I've said it before in past sessions and with other people, or past these and with other people, who I was marrying Janelle is not who I am now.
Correct.
Even in terms of, I married her as a single guy who worked in housing and residence life, and over the years I've learned things, I've experienced things, and where I am now, it's not where I was then. And so I've changed. She's changed. The world has changed. And so if you just think you marry in a vacuum, you marry in a moment of time that doesn't change, I got to be real with you. That's not realistic, because you are going to change. The person you're with is going to change. As they learn, as they grow, as they experience things, it's going to change. So accept that change, expect that change, and celebrate that change. Granted, sometimes you may think a person changes for the worse, and I think there's ways that you both can go and unpack what that means in terms of that part of them that's changing that doesn't necessarily seem to vibe. But again, you both can grow in that sense. If there were times when, Janelle was like, well, I'm going to be vegetarian now. I'm not going to eat meat. And I'm like, I want bacon. That's what I want. Bacon and I are best friends. So don't take me for my best friend, Bacon. I mean, I love you, babe. But in terms of that moment to say, okay, there's a reason for it, and being able to support it, it's like, well, I'm not trying to go all the way, but yeah, in some of the meals you do, I will eat those meals with you because I want you to know that I support you in this.
Right.
And if, you want to eat a particular thing and I don't want to be around you, so to speak, then I'll do that later separate so it doesn't, come across like I don't see you or I don't see what you're trying to do. I accept it and I expect it. Now, granted, we both eat bacon again, so rock on. But it's just that's as an example of, and again, laughing at each other, laughing with each other. See, trying to make sure you're listening. But just all jokes aside, being able to understand that we're both changing, we're both growing. When we were together, we were single. We weren't parents. And then our love has produced kids. So as we still try to figure out the world, we're figuring out the world knowing that we got kids. And having infants is different than having preteens. World is constantly changing.
Yes.
So are we. So we need to accept it, expect it, and in some ways celebrate it. And know that we can, again, communication, respect, no assumptions, we can make it work.
Right. I'll reference the article again right here. It says, in successful marriages, each person supports the other so that they can grow to become the best person they can be.
Yes.
And that means maturing as individuals and together as a team.
Yep.
So I think that having that understanding that you're going to evolve, I like the term evolution because I think that you're going to change and mature. Life experiences are going to alter some of your perspectives. And so if you are going to be till death do us part, adaptation, pivoting, flexing, bending are all going to be a part of that quote unquote dance.
Yep.
However, it doesn't mean that, again, I have to change completely to just fit him, or he has to change completely to fit me. It's more about us moving together to support one another as life moves down, takes its path. It's a winding path, and we also have to be able to adapt, be resilient for one another.
Yes. Well, those are all the ones the experts have said.
All right. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for hanging in there with me. I did not have my phone, but I see you watching. And if you have a question, feel free to reach out to us. My contact information is up in the screen. You'll also have it on this back exit page. Feel free to reach out to Mr. Snipes if you have couples, relationship, family counseling questions or requests. And we will be back again for the last Saturday in June with at least one other couple. I'm trying to solidify a second. And we're going to talk about marriage again, love and marriage, and what that means to our generation and the year 2021.
Yep.
We all hope that you're having a fantastic Saturday, that you're going to have a very blessed and productive week ahead of you. Again, this is just for us to help you be better, grow, expand your mindset, and we hope that we've done that for you. If you've gotten a nugget, you're going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, before you wrapped up, Happy Father's Day to the fathers and the father figures. Tomorrow is Father's Day, so rock on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Happy Father's Day to all of those who are doing the job of fathering. So, again, thank you so much for joining us. We greatly appreciate you. Have a fantastic day, a fantastic week. Don't forget to join us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you've gotten anything from us, we'd love to hear it. And so, take care. Have a fantastic week. Bye-bye.